evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of Tuesday, June 9th, 2015. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start the meeting with the reading of the mission statement. The mission of the Wakefield Public and inspire all students to be lifelong learners who are meaningful contributors to society and meet their academic, social, civic, and physical potential. The next item on the agenda tonight is recognition of some retirees. We just had a lovely reception at the Farm Street Inn. And Dr. Zweig will introduce everybody.
So good evening. I just want to start by acknowledging that we have a series of individuals who are retiring this year. And I do want to just acknowledge that, again, in this, the folks that are, we're about to read their names, some of whom are here, some of whom are not, they're really stars in the system. And we're fortunate that they've dedicated many, many years, in some cases multiple decades, to the Wakefield Public Schools. And it becomes increasingly more and more rare for people to dedicate their whole career to the same system, who are, and especially in a profession that becomes harder and harder by the year. These folks have not only been excellent in the classroom, but they've been models and supports for, and they've stood the test of time and have shifted with so many changes in a field that continues to be, I think people don't realize the challenges that our educators face each and every day. And these folks have not only survived, but have thrived for a long period of time. So I want to first acknowledge the folks that could not be with us tonight. Mike Boyages is actually he's doing his job at the lacrosse game across the field. 36 years at the high school, or in Wakefield Public Schools. And for each of these individuals, a book is being given to the library of their choosing, of a title of their choice. So Mike chose the book When Pride Mattered. Suzanne Hall, who is a teacher at the Dolbear, who's given 34 years to the Wakefield Public Schools, has requested that the book Catching the Moon be dedicated to the Dolbear Library. Kathy Curley, high school secretary, served 22 years. The book Longest Ride to the high school library in her name. Miss Elaine Balicki, food service, has yet to choose a book, but she's given 32 years to the Wakefield Schools. Kathy Foley, Woodville teacher, grade 4. Boy is the name of the book that she's is being dedicated in her name to the Woodville Library. 33 years in the Wakefield Public Schools. Robin Levy, a district-wide occupational therapist, has chosen a boy and a jaguar to give to the Greenwood School. 11 years in the Wakefield Schools. Frank Marino, district-wide, he's been in every school even in the last 2 years. Elementary art teacher. Round trip was what he chose. To 2 copies, one for the Woodville and one for the Greenwood School, where he spent most of his time, 30 years. Judy McGuan, Galvin School, grade 8 social studies teacher, 18 years of service, and she has yet to select the book, but we will be on her to do so. Catherine Ralph, Doyle School, she just moved there this year, our first retiree from the new Early Childhood Center. 19 years in the Wakefield Schools. And then Mary Alice Safakis from the Woodville School, grade 3, has chosen an all-time favorite of mine, Charlotte's Web, to be donated to the Woodville Library, and she's given 29 years to the Wakefield Public Schools. Now I have the privilege, and I'm going to ask these folks to come up and meet myself and Miss Morgan up front for a photo shoot. This is what you get if you come live in person. Yeah, we'll go now. We'll call up folks so we can just acknowledge you. We just had a lovely reception for these folks. And I'm not going to call this person by her real name because I don't really know it. But Randy Biscardi from the Galvin School, we asked you to come up, technology teacher. She's chosen the book Cape Cod and the Island Reflections. That's probably where you want to be right now.
That's my time.
19 years, congratulations. Stay up here.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Kevin Butler has given 40 years. Wow. Although he said 39. We have you down as 40 here, Kevin.
Round up.
Room 1, a mystery or two, and he's donating it or gifting it to the Galvin School, is my understanding. No, Walton. Okay, Walton. Custodian, Walton School, congratulations. I have to say, this next person, I had the privilege of being at her party on Friday night, retirement party, and it is the best retirement speech I think I've ever, well, the funniest retirement speech I've ever heard is Miss Trudy Delory, Galvin School health teacher, and she, in true form, nonverbal communication, the art of body language. And Trudy, 35 years. Congratulations. Mr. Tom Grab, a science teacher, has asked the break of the Finch be, or I'm sorry, the beak of the Finch high school, to the high school library, 10 years. Thank you. This next person I had the privilege of working with last year, Miss Nancy Graziano, who's given 29 years to the Wakefield schools, the high school and the central office. Secretary Pedro is a book that she's donating, or having inscribed in her name, to the high school. And then our final, oh no, we have two more, I'm sorry. Joey Edson, who is at the Greenwood and the Doyle now. I don't think we have your book title yet, Joey.
It's called the Busybody book.
Busybody, to the Greenwood School, I'm assuming. 11 years in the system. Thank you. Have you in the picture here? And the next person, again, I had the privilege of being at her party, and I can assure you I will not be doing the same thing this person did, which is sing at her retirement party. So I asked that Miss Barbara Bennett come up, MSN from the Galvin School. Fish in a Tree is the book that she's selecting, and she's given 25 years. So thank you for your service. Let's give these folks a big round.
It's your motion. I'm just saying it's awkward.
I think it's not a picture.
We have a picture over here. Mike, do you mind taking?
What are we paying you? Come on, Mike.
One hand. Congratulations to all of you.
Congratulations to you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak tonight? I don't see anybody. Next, Student Advisory Council.
Hi. We're almost wrapping up the year with about 2 weeks left, so just a couple things to mention. On this graduation for the class of 2015, which many people were there to attend, it was a nice ceremony to celebrate the class with excellent student speeches, which mentioned living in the moment and talked about the thoughtful approach to life rather than just learning in the classroom, learning outside the classroom and things that they learned in their 4 years at the high school. On Friday, the day before graduation, was the academic convocation. It was giving out awards for student recognition of achievement inside and outside the classroom. It was a special privilege for the current juniors to sit in the seats where the seniors will graduate, because just in a short year we'll be graduating, and looking forward to next year. Finals begin on Monday, June 22nd, which will be the last week of school. Looking forward to wrapping up the year, and we're currently looking to more members as the student advisors to the school committee from the class of 2017.
Okay, thank you.
Scary,
Anyone have
huh?
any questions or comments?
2017.
I know.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next is the student spotlight, but we're gonna hold on that, right?
That's right.
They're
coming from a prior speaking engagement, so they will be here to.
It's a busy night, folks.
They are.
So we're gonna also take the superintendent's remarks before the chairman's remarks tonight. We have a few
Okay.
people here to present.
Yes, We do. We're going to start with the field trip request that the school committee just received today for a field trip from the Galvin Middle School. And we have Mr. Winowski and Mr. Bedrosian here. I don't know if you want to come forward. I have extra copies if somebody would like a copy of their request. And just give them a chance to explain their request to you.
Good evening, school committee. A little nervous, this is a big audience for me. I'm used to 8th graders. My name's Matthew Winarski, 8th grade English teacher at the Galvin, English Language Arts. So we scheduled a field trip for this coming Friday, June 12th. It's to the McAuliffe Shepherd Discovery Center in Concord, New Hampshire. The students are going to see a film in the planetarium about the sun, 20 to 30 minutes of science experiments, and then they have about 20 to 30 minutes of browsing the planetarium and gift shop if they so choose. That on my part, when I first submitted the field trip request, I let the administration know it was in New Hampshire, and I asked if I had to do anything special. But when I submitted the written request, if you have I don't know if you have a copy
Yes,
of
they are.
this.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
I didn't put down that it was in Concord, New Hampshire, which would have been a trigger to the administration to submit the request to school committee. So I'm asking permission to go on the field trip this Friday. All the payments have been received. All the checks are ready to go for the restaurant and the planetarium and the school and the bus.
Great, thank you. Yes, please.
I move that the school committee approve a field trip request from the Galvin Middle School for its students to attend the McAuliffe Observatory in Concord, New Hampshire on Friday, June 12th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Callahan?
I certainly would not deny a field trip and penalize the students. But the way this has been presented is totally unacceptable. It's not new that out-of-state field trips require advance notice. The permission from the school committee is supposed to be given before any permission slips even go out. Okay, and now I look on this, you got 95 kids and only 8 chaperones. That doesn't meet policy.
No, we have 9 chaperones.
And this says 7 to 8.
This, at the time, this is,
And for 95, you need 10.
well, 90 to 95 students is estimation.
Okay.
Then by the time we collect all the field trips, actually 87 students are going.
And this is only one team?
One team,
How many 8th grade teams are there?
3 teams.
Okay, what are the other 2 teams getting?
Well, one team, Team C, has already been on 3 or 4 field trips. So whenever we have a field trip, we invite all the other teams. So Team C didn't accept because they had already gone on 3 or 4 field trips. And this particular observatory is much smaller than the one in Boston. So we're not able to accommodate all the teams or even one other team. So in this case, it's best for just one team to go.
Okay. My point is that when you have something that's curriculum related, it's supposed to be available to all the students. I mean, and if not that exact thing on the same day, there should be something equivalent for the other teams. And I don't know that is or isn't offered because no other requests for field trips have come to us because they perhaps weren't out of state. But we don't know that. I just, this is the way this is, I mean, I don't know how long this has been in the works.
It's been in the works since the beginning of May 11th, I believe.
We need people to follow the rules.
Yeah, I take full responsibility. Again, this is the first field trip I had ever done out of state, and I just wasn't familiar with all the protocol and the regulations.
And I just, I don't want to see, people excluded. And that's why I have a hard time. I understand that not everybody goes on the same thing, but to know that the others had something that was related to the same curriculum, another offering, whether they went to the planetarium in Boston instead of the one in New Hampshire, something like that is important.
They actually did.
Okay. Okay.
Earlier.
But I need to know that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Kenny?
I just want to say, Mr. Winiarski, I think it's a great field trip. It sounds like it was, very well planned. I know, I've certainly made my share of mistakes in all kinds of different fields. Clara, hold against you. I wish you the best of luck. It sounds like the kids will definitely really enjoy it. And thank you for coming prepared.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Markham?
Let me just also add, while I don't want to disagree with my colleague about timing and following of procedures, there's certainly a level of appropriateness to all things. But at the end of the day, I fully also appreciate that the teachers and school leaders have an awful lot going on that are occupying the things that you do and the quality of what you do and the extra time and energy that you put into it. We certainly would never want to not support an educational opportunity for kids and to appreciate the work that teachers and administrators do. So,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you and best of luck
Thank
on
you.
Friday.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Dr.
Can I just
Zweig?
say, I appreciate you coming here in person tonight,
Yeah, of
Mr.
course.
Winiarski. Clearly, we have some work to do as a system to make sure that we are clear around out-of-state field trips. To Mr. Callahan's point, I think we're constantly working towards consistency. I don't want to pin this on one teacher or one team, but I think the point around trying to have consistent learning experiences is something we want to work towards as a school system, as a matter of practice. We certainly don't. And I think that's something that we have a common interest in wanting to continue across the school district. As you know, from the time of my arrival, we've talked a lot about consistent experiences, and I think that's something we will continue to work on as teams and schools. And I'm certain that that's the direction that the district will continue to go in. I don't want to pin that on Mr. Winiarski. I also think that's as leaders in the district, we've got to continue to emphasize that, and I think highlight the critical procedures, because there's a lot of policies, some of which impact what happens in the classroom, some don't. And I think it falls on the building to be much clearer about some of those procedures. So, but I do appreciate the fact that he came here tonight in person, which is never an easy thing to do. And I do think the points are well taken, and that's something I will certainly take back and work on with the administration, so that we have some consistency and clarity around how field trips are
That's right.
established.
I think a perfect example of the right way is how the Exchange City is handled.
Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Exchange City for the sixth grade is the right, the perfect example of the right, Enterprise City, I'm sorry. It used to be Exchange City. It used to.
But you're older than I am.
Jeez.
That's the right way to do it. I mean, it's available to all the sixth graders, there's a lot of planning, and they all get to go.
Well, I'd like to echo what Dr. Zweig said. I think we're moving towards field trips that are universal among grade levels. I know in the last couple of years, we've just started inviting all the teams whenever possible. And depending on the circumstances, we try to get everybody to go. So I think we're moving towards that. Definitely.
Any further? Ms. Danahy?
Oh, I just want to thank you for taking the initiative to organize the field trip. I think that that's a great experience for children, and I know that my children went on field trips when they were in school, and those were some of the things that they remember. And I think I thank you for coming forward to doing it. I agree with what everybody has said here, and but I hope that this doesn't discourage you in the future
No.
from doing this again.
No.
So I think it's a great service to the school, and hopefully all students will be able to experience a field trip similar to
Yeah.
that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and one more thing, if I,
Yes.
and I would be far more intimidated talking to a group.
Yes.
So this is a piece of cake
Yes.
compared to going into speaking to 38th graders.
That's
So
right.
you did great. Thank you.
Well,
Any-
thank you for your time, and thank you for the permission. It's nice to
Anything
see you.
further?
We haven't voted yet.
In advance.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? It's voted unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, next on my comments is, I really I'm really pleased with this next presenter. Last year, as you know, we started a summer reading initiative, or we souped up the summer reading initiative in Wakefield. And I have to say, we pieced it together sort of at the last minute, and but it was a very successful campaign. This year, this individual, from the start of the year, has taken this and put so much blood, sweat, and tears in this initiative, and of the sophistication and the thought process and the details. It could almost be a full-time job to be the summer reading coordinator, the amount he's put into this. And I have to say, I'm so impressed with the work. I can take no credit for any of this work that he has done. And I think it's important, though, he shared with the school committee, as we will be sending out correspondence to families shortly around what the summer reading initiative will be in Wakefield. So I'd love to call up Paul Bavuso, who in his second job, other than summer reading coordinator, is the ELA grade 5 to 12 reading coordinator, and he brings with him.
This is Elizabeth Germino. She's a junior at Wakefield High School.
Great.
So thank you
floor
very
is yours.
much. Yeah. I just want to highlight some of the things that we're doing this year with the summer reading program. First, I'd like to say that it is a collaborative effort between the Wakefield Public Schools, BB Library, and the Wakefield-Linfield Chamber of Commerce. And that was an important piece to us. We wanted to maintain and strengthen the partnerships we already have with the BB and with the greater business community, but also hopefully build some new connections with the community. This year we're going to provide incentives for students to read. We will have a community read, and I'll show you a little bit about that in a minute. But through research, we learned that forcing kids to read and forcing them to take tests on a book, and it's not a natural thing to do. It's not something that students are going to want to do possibly on their own. We risk turning students off to reading. So a lot of research went into the best, most effective program. We decided upon a community title, and then strongly encouraging students to pick up a book. And this is why this is a community effort. We need the whole community to see. So we started today. There are really 3 phases to the program, and I think I inundated you with some literature, but wanted you to have every little piece. We started today at the elementary schools and at the middle school with book talks. Traditionally, it has been the wonderful librarians at the BB Library coming and offering suggestions for reading to the students. This year at the elementary school, the BB librarians will still be doing that. At the middle school and tomorrow at the high school, the students will be presenting suggested summer titles to their peers. At the Galvin today, it was just extraordinary. The kids went all out with presentations. They had posters, they had multimedia presentations, and they were really excited, and their peers were excited to be on the receiving end of those book talks. I think it's probably more powerful to get a suggestion from a peer also than. We wanted to make it a little more festive. Reading should be fun. So we had a photo booth, and the photos will be going up on the website and on Facebook. And we also had face painting. We tried for a literary theme, but the kids wanted other things, so we went with that. That's okay. And some teachers too got their faces painted. The next piece is the Superintendent's Reading Challenge, and the school department is going to offer, once again, some prizes and incentives to the top readers in the schools and throughout
Jump
the
in the
district.
lake?
I think he should jump in the lake one more time, but we'll see. We'll see
Yeah, a
what
few
happens.
of us do.
I'm going to move on. So, the piece that ties this together, besides the wonderful work that Elizabeth has done, is the web. I'm going to just briefly show you some of the pieces. We're going to be heavily promoting wakefieldreads.org, which is it already ties into the BB Library, and all aspects of the program will be on the website. So at first you can see the titles. We chose this year, I Am Malala, the girl who stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. That will be for 9 to 12, students entering grades 9 through 12. for students entering grades 5 through 8, there's a leveled text, and that is, I am Malala, how one girl stood up for education and was shot by the Taliban. And changed the world. So what they've done is they have leveled the text, so we're using the high school version, it's the adult version, that's also going to be promoted for all the adults in the community. And then the students entering grades 5 through 8 would read the middle school edition. There's also another version, A Woman Warrior, and this is for students entering grades 4 and 5. And then we stuck with the theme, but there was not one more level down for grades K through 2, and it's called Biblioboro. And it's a really great story about a boy in Colombia who has an experience with books and shares a library with the community. So they're excellent titles. I think some of you are probably familiar with them. So when you go to wakefieldreads.org, there are a couple of different tabs. We have the reading challenge at the top, and students can get their suggested summer reading lists. They can log in here, as they have been doing at the schools, to create an online profile through the BB Library, and that's where students can enter online book reviews. So that's how we count the number of books they've read. The second phase of the summer reading program is really the book buzz, and that's going in August. And we're encouraging the students to participate along with their families. We have a couple of locations throughout the town, and again, we wanted to really tie it back to the community and make it a community event. So we have Kid Casso on board, the Savings Bank and the Wakefield Cooperative Bank. Students can log into the book buzz section and choose a location according to their grade level. They can also choose to go to a book buzz, which is really a book club, at the Mattapan branch of the Boston Public Library. So that will be held the night before on August 4th for our students who live in Boston. And we will have August 5th at 6 p.m. in downtown Wakefield. And the last piece, like I mentioned before, are the in-school book fair and book talks. The last piece of the program happens, and that is when students return to school. The district will stop and discuss the text. So if they read Malala or if they read Biblioboro, we're going to have maybe an extended homeroom or an extended class period, and the students will have the opportunity to partake in a discussion. And we are really, encouraging the students to bring up the title in their other classes. We don't want this just to be, traditionally it's been an English language arts initiative. This has to now be a community initiative and school-wide initiative. So I think we're on the right track with that. The wonderful piece that Elizabeth has created is part of the promotion, and that is going to be the electronic billboard that will be in front of Jordan's Furniture on 128. So I'd like her to explain her design.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Babuso, and thank you, School Committee, for allowing me to speak to you tonight. So this is the design I've come up with for the Wakefield Reads. So we've got the symbol in the corner, the logo, so I asked myself, what screams Wakefield? Of course, the bandstand. And then we've got the child reading, so we got Wakefield Reads right off the bat. And then the call to action, read today, in big, bold, red letters. And then where do you go? The website is right underneath in also bold letters. And then secondary, we have a Malala quote, "One child, one book can change the world," which I really think captures what Wakefield Reads is trying to promote. And then, of course, for more interesting design, we've got a few books in the corner, and with in particular an emphasis on Malala because the whole town will be reading her. So I hope you guys like it.
Excellent.
Excellent.
That's awesome.
And she embodied everything that we wanted for this program. And also, buzzing by in your car, it's very easy to figure out what's going on here. And I know she spent many, many hours, so I'm really proud of her. She's an excellent student and is going to go a long way, as you can tell.
Does
So-
anyone have any questions or comments?
Any questions?
What kind of rotation will happen on that billboard? Do you have any idea?
On the bulletin board?
On the billboard?
Oh, well, so this is the one designed for us. Hopefully, there'll be some tasteful advertisements that surround the community message.
But are you like, is it gonna be on for like a month? And
I
do,
don't
like,
know.
a
I'm
recurrent
going
message, or do
to
you
send
have an
it
idea?
to Steve Mayo, and I'm going to leave that up to him. But I'd love it to run as long as possible. I really think we can, start a community conversation with this, so.
I have noticed on that billboard, there is, right by the other day, there was something about just the town itself. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like they've started something. So.
One of the things, Elizabeth, if you take a look at that billboard, like I said, when you're speeding by on 128, this captures everything about the whole program. You have the Wakefield piece, the books, and exactly where to go. We're going to have a little banner across Main Street also just promoting the website. So hopefully we'll get some talk throughout town about reading and literacy.
That's perfect.
Mr. Tiaro?
I just want to comment, I'm blown away by this. There was a time not too long ago when I was doing summer reading and it felt more like homework. It was get the book and then read it and come back and we're going to talk about it. And I am so impressed with the structure and with the interactivity of all this. I mean, it's amazing to me that summer reading now entails having a billboard. So I just want to send, my compliments, and you clearly did great work on this program, both of you, and I'm extremely impressed.
Thank you.
Anyone else? That looks beautiful. You must be so proud when you're going to
Thank
see it
you
up
so
there when
much.
you're driving by. It's perfect.
Yeah, the 3 seconds, so many hours for 3 seconds, but it's worth it.
Yep, you should definitely be proud. Ms. Stanahy?
I just want to say is that that's amazing. You did a phenomenal job. That is fantastic. I should go into advertising.
Oh, thank you. So I have, she calls herself my mentor, who really helped me a lot, and she's in the graphic design world.
It's
So-
fantastic. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. And I really love the selection of the book because I think that it takes us outside of our little world and expands the world. And I think it's fantastic that different grade levels are reading the same book at age-appropriate levels. And I'm just thinking about my own children, who are 2 years apart, and how great it would be if they read the same book. And then, they would probably will have conversation at the dinner table that will just be they'll just be reading the same book. So it's doing a lot for sibling relationships and also just spontaneous reading. So I think that's an idea. And so congratulations.
Thank you. I guarantee once you all purchase the book or borrow it from the library, you will be turned on. You will not want to put
Oh,
it
yeah.
down. It's a powerful, very powerful
Yeah.
book.
Oh, we have to
I've
read
read
it
it.
too?
Oh, of course. We're coming back for the discussion here. So.
Anyone else?
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
I just want to add too that we are also going to have a math initiative this year with a 10 marks program, which our 5 to 12 math coordinators helping to get off the ground. And Jay Wallace, who will be the new elementary math coach, has already been involved in that. So my letter will include this program as well as the math initiative challenge. We're going to have a math challenge this week for students to demonstrate that they've been practicing their math work, that they can bring it in on the first day of school. And we will have a raffle for that as well. So we're expanding it to math this summer as well. But it's certainly well-developed is what we just heard in reading. Next on the agenda is Dr. Smith. We put, as you know, per the curriculum review process that we put in place last year, and we discussed when we presented the math, asked for support for our math adoption, we discussed that we'd be coming back around our phonics program as well as writing program. Writing was not initially part of our thinking, but Dr. Smith will explain why we're coming forward as well about writing. I think both she and I feel very strongly about how important writing is and a lever that is for school improvement. And Dr. Smith is going to take us through the recommendation that we're hoping to get support from tonight from the school committee.
Sure. Well, so a month ago, I was with you to talk about the math recommendation, as Dr. Zweig said, and I promised you that I would be back as we've put together our recommendations for both phonics and writing curriculum, our recommendations for adoption. So you can see by the picture on the front page of your slides here that the phonics curriculum that we're asking to adopt is the Foundations phonics program. We have been piloting throughout the entire school year. And so over 9 months, we had 9 pilot teachers in grades K through 1, representing all of the district schools. At the same time, other teachers were using some other strong programs, the Fountas and Pinnell Literacy and another program called Jolly Phonics, all good programs. At the end of the day, after talking to a lot of teachers, observing a lot of classrooms, getting a lot of feedback, looking at the research, there was really a wholehearted recommendation that Foundations would be a great program to adopt, and that's the one that we are recommending tonight. What we'd like to do is a full implementation for grades K through 2, and then in grade 3, we'll use it as a remediation tool. So, in terms of materials and cost, the district had already purchased a number of classroom sets in FY14 as we prepared for the pilot. So at this point, it's really just filling out the classrooms that still need teacher kits or the classroom durables. And also, we're going to purchase some multi-level instructional kits for interventionists, which we have not had before. The total cost for what we still need is somewhere around $35,000 to $40,000. As we look at funding sources for that, if you remember back when we made the math curriculum recommendation, the budget line was for $250,000, and we've held off on grades 7 and 8 this school year because the Envision 2.0 product had not been released yet. So we're going to be looking at that over the course of this year. So we're really going to front load the phonics and writing, some of the ELA curriculum purchases we need here, so that next year, when the adoption of ELA curriculum comes up, we can put aside that $50,000 for 7th and 8th grade math. But I will be looking also, I've just talked to Mike Pifferling about looking at some of the grants we currently have right now too. We have a kindergarten grant, and we have a little bit of money left in Title I, so I certainly want to spend off current grant money that we have first before we delve into that. In terms of the decision-making process, it's important to know that this is just not done in an arbitrary manner. Really, over the course of 9 months, I personally did a number of classroom observations. I had a lot of informal discussions with teachers around their experiences with the curriculum materials. Talked a lot to the building principals and talked about their observations of instruction in the classroom and student performances. Grade level teams across the district are really looking at their Ames web data and other data sources, and they're really seeing some of the powerful results of what a really strong phonics program that's consistent, can bring. And I also hosted some coffee feedback sessions where teachers could just come and talk to me about their experiences with any of the new curriculum that we were trying to implement. So I really heard from a lot of teachers across the district on their input on the different programs. I really want to thank the pilot teachers. Their names are here. They did an extraordinary job. It is not an easy thing to just take brand new curriculum materials and dive in with the students, but this group of professionals did an absolutely amazing job, so I really want to thank them for trying out the materials. They did a lot of talking to one another and sharing their experiences, talking to the principals, talking to me, and they really, all of them really had a lot of great things to say about the Foundations program, so we're really pleased. Probably most importantly is to look at the curriculum highlights. So just want to tell you just a little bit about Foundations. It's based on the Wilson Reading System principles. It's a research-based program that was initially programmed to reduce reading and spelling failure. And one of the things that's very powerful about us stepping into the Foundations program is that currently our intervention and remediation program is Wilson. And so when students need that intervention, they're really kind of coming into different language set and skill set as they enter into the remediation program. But with Foundations as the foundational program, when a student does require intervention or remediation, it's the same language, it's the same skills, it's the same strategies. So there's a really nice coherence in using Foundations, and I think that was one of the really compelling points that we thought about. The daily lessons, very sequenced in terms of the skills. You can see by my slide addressing print knowledge, alphabet, phonological and phonemic awareness, decoding, vocabulary, fluency, spelling, handwriting, really addressing the full range of word study and skills. So it's really well put together. Multi-sensory method, the students' skills and strategies. You can tell when you're in a Foundations classroom because the students, as they're reading, are tapping out words and using some of their strategies. The story time activities are very engaging for students. They also have this thing called the Echo Pilot that the children just absolutely love. Very, very engaging. And a lot of the activities also promote other aspects of literacy development, critical thinking, speaking, and listening skills. The assessments are strong. The differentiation is strong. One of the highlights really is that the teachers have said it's very teacher-friendly, the materials and the resources. It was not a difficult implementation for them at all. Everything that they need was right at their disposal. And they also talked a lot about the homework supports packet. They said that it really encourages parent involvement, so the parents are able to support their children at home as a companion to the program. So for steps with Foundations, with school committee approval tonight, we can order needed materials this week. I've been, preparing all kinds of spreadsheets, interacting with principals to find out exactly what they need. Training is a big piece. I've actually already reached out to the pilot teachers to see if they'd be willing to support their colleagues next year, and to their credit, to a person, they all said they'd be happy to support their colleagues next year in some training. We'll do that prior to the start of school. Certainly sent out a letter to parents in the coming week just to inform them of what's going on, and then come fall, school-based parent communication support would be provided. So those would be the next steps with Foundations. The other recommendation that I'd like to make tonight for curriculum adoption is around writing. I think Dr. Zweig mentioned earlier, if you're going to pull a single lever to elevate student achievement and progress, writing is the lever to pull. It's a really powerful lever. And one thing we really haven't had in Wakefield, the teachers' hands, a consistent, high-quality, standards-based writing curriculum to implement. And I think our teachers deserve it. I think our students deserve it. And I think it's just a great opportunity. So what we're looking at is the Lucy Calkins Units of Study in Opinion, Information, and Narrative Writing. If you're familiar with the Massachusetts Frameworks and Common Core, those are the three essential writing pieces that students will be working with. This is just a snapshot of grade 1, but it's a grade K. Well, we're looking at grade K through 4, but it does extend beyond that. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this year we didn't pilot the Calkins writing curriculum in any kind of a formal way, but a lot of the school leadership teams and principals had started looking at the materials and experimenting with the materials, and I actually came to find out that we actually own a lot. A lot of the principals had already invested through their textbook budget lines in some of this to just kind of take a close look and try a few things out. The Doll Bear in particular really deserves kudos. The teachers and literacy coach and principal in that building really took on the units of study to give them a try, and they did just a phenomenal job. Being in their classrooms and seeing the students' improvement in writing was really special. And again, the teachers had a lot of good things to say about the curriculum. And as I had said, we really haven't had a consistent writing curriculum across the district, and so it's really time that we do that. So we'd like to adopt the Calkins Units of Study in terms of purchasing those curriculum materials and resources, having them in every school and every classroom at the fingertips of teachers and their coaches. We've already started the conversation about expanding to the middle school even the following year. Recently, Paul Bavuso and I met with the 5th grade team to let them know what for. The teachers were excited about looking at it, so I'd also like to purchase a couple of grade 5 and 6 kits so that the teachers will have a chance to really explore them and really prepare maybe a year from now to start extending that. I really think we will see a significant lift in student writing achievement in the coming years as we begin to implement some of this excellent curriculum. As I said earlier, in materials and cost here, most schools actually have already purchased a number of kits. So again, it's just filling in any gaps, make sure that every classroom has access, K through 4. And again, the same curriculum plan for cost. The materials for the writing curriculum are probably somewhere in the ballpark of $7,000 to $10,000 to complete the purchase. So the same funding plan, basically. And so all of it together, the phonics and the writing, fall under that $50,000 mark. So we're in the pocket with that. But I will take a look at what we have for some current FY grant funds first before. I want to save every penny of that. There's many, many needs before we move forward. And again, the curriculum selection process, just very similar, really being out in the schools, talking to teachers, talking to principals, getting feedback, looking at student performance and review in terms of selecting curriculum. And this is just a snapshot of curriculum highlights. Really, this is something you want to, there's a lot to look at now. But this just gives you a snapshot of what a writer's workshop looks like. If you look at through the red box thread, that's really what the kind of the breakdown of instruction from whole group to guided and independent practice back to the whole group sharing at the end, and kind of what some of the aspects of that look like. In the gray boxes, you'll see the essential elements of the lesson structure, and then there's a list of the writing standards that the students are meeting and the teachers are helping them to meet. So it just gives you an idea of what Writer's Workshop looks like in sort of a visual. And then finally, last step, again, with school committee approval, I can work on making sure that the order goes out this week. We certainly want to have materials in teachers' hands going into the summer. And then training, the Calkins writing training is a little more complex, and so I've really been thinking about it a lot, talking to principals and literacy coaches about the best approach. And I've been in contact with a consultant from Teachers College. This particular consultant's worked with for 10 years side by side with Lucy Calkins, knows the work intimately. So just talking to her about thinking about bringing her out to work with our literacy coaches and make sure they're really well trained so that they can support the teachers, and we can get a lot of help with, again, some professional development in September before school starts. So that's what we're looking at for training, and then again, parent communication, we would incorporate it in the same letter that would go out shortly following an approval, and then school-based patient come fall. So that's it. It's pretty exciting, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
So we will make a motion first, yes, please.
Okay, so the motion I'm going to make is different than the motion you have in front of you. Just correct it. So move that the Wakefield School Committee vote to adopt the Foundation's phonics curriculum for grades K to 3 beginning in the 2015-2016 school year. I think that's what we want, the school committee, not the school district. Any objections to that?
No.
Okay.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Questions, comments? Mr. Callahan?
Just one quick question. Now, during your presentation, you mentioned the word durables.
Yes.
And it made me think, are there any consumables in this program?
No, no consumables. The durables that I mentioned are, the program comes with magnetic letters and handwriting anchor charts and some physical, and the owls, very important piece of the program. So it comes with a set of classroom durables, and it also comes with the teacher kit, so.
Okay, but no consumables?
No consumables.
Mr. Markham?
Excuse me, I just, I'm sure I'll have the same comment for the next motion, but I just wanted to thank Dr. Smith and the team of pilot teachers. There's really an extraordinary amount of work had gone into coming up to the recommendation that you're making tonight. And this is really setting us on an extraordinary path toward continuous improvement in reading and literacy and advancement that is so desperately needed in Wakefield, and this is a very good and strong beginning for that. So, thank you to you for your leadership, and certainly a thank you also to the team that you had behind you.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Voted unanimously.
We move that, I move that the Wakefield School Committee adopt the Calkins units of study and opinion, information, and narrative writing for grades K to 4.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Questions? Comments? All those in favor?
Same.
Voted unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Issue that PO.
This is big. This is big.
Yeah, thank you to the school committee for your support. It's just, I would echo what Mr. Markham said. It does positioned the district very well in having some anchor materials and support, something that I'd heard a tremendous amount about early in my entry process, that people wanted more guidance, more support. Again, effective teaching is not just about the curriculum that they use, but that's not the silver bullet, of course, but having strong resources for people to use, imperative, and our teachers deserve that, just like they deserve strong technology in order to do their work well. So I thank you to Dr. Smith, who took the ball, has taken this from the start of her tenure as assistant superintendent, and done a tremendous amount of work in making the selection not only in math but writing and phonics. And so we're certainly well positioned for next year, and then the process begins to look at the next phase of the curriculum review and adoption cycle. I just have a few comments, and then Mike has a few comments as well. I know we have a gift to accept. I did want to I sent an email earlier today making you aware that the Wakefield Academy Director, Fred Randall, has officially submitted his resignation effective July 6th. He has accepted a charter school principalship in Lowell. He will be assisting us with the first week of summer school, which there is a week before the unofficial start after school gets out, and the official start is July 6th. We wish Fred the best in his new endeavor. We have offered the interim summer director position to Sue Warden, who many of you know is a longtime employee as a secretary at the Walton and has extensive experience with the academy. And we plan to post for the Wakefield Academy director position by the end of the week with a start date in late summer or early fall. So I've been working with Deb Pond and getting that prepared to go out this week. In your packet, you have information about the SEAM budget for 2015-16. I didn't want to give you the entire budget. It's a very massive document, so I just gave you a long document of highlights that they provided, and I wanted you to be aware of, again, Wakefield utilizes SEAM a little less than some of our local districts. We don't have as many students going there, but there is a cost savings associated with sending students to a collaborative. I'm not going to go. I wanted you to have the highlights for your information. Today, we sent out information to a survey to the staff and students about the park. We've been long discussing that at the school committee. So a survey was sent to teachers and students. We are interested in getting feedback on the assessment, on the experience that both teachers and students had, both in terms of what Wakefield, like our support for teachers and students through the process, but also the actual tool, the assessment tool, the quality of it, the technology of it as well. Our teachers and students were asked to fill out surveys for the park, but of course we don't have access to that information. And it's useful and informative to us. So we use some of the same questions, but this way we'll be able to report out. My hope is at the next school committee meeting to be reporting out what we learned from our staff about the park. Tomorrow we're we're looking forward to having two coming principals in the district. Will be in the district tomorrow. Mr. Adam Colantoni will be here tomorrow morning to meet with PTO presidents from all the schools who expressed a real interest in talking to him about the Galvin, and many of them are elementary PTO presidents who have children and represent communities that are sending kids to the Galvin. And he will be meeting with them for an hour tomorrow to listen to what they perceive to be the strengths, concerns, questions, and I think it's good for him to have a sense of what what the community, what's on their mind as he enters the district starting July 1st. So he's giving us a full day of his time. I believe he'll be here for the full day, also meeting with Dr. Smith and members of our team throughout the rest of the day. And then Miss Jerry Hammond will be here tomorrow. The new principal at the Walton will be doing a meet and greet with families, with staff and the interim principal tomorrow. She will also be back next week to spend a full day. To the extent we can, we like to have these people spend a whole day so they can see how the school runs prior to them starting. So she will be in the district tomorrow. I'm also pleased to share the information on the Wakefield Teacher Leadership Opportunity that's in your packet. We've been, last year we did some work on aspiring leaders, and one of the things we have learned since then is as much as we have folks in the district that want to, that aspire to be principals or administrators, there's also a need, I think, to develop teacher voice and input and leadership across the district, that not everybody wants to be a principal. As glorious as that job sounds, many people want to remain teachers, but they want to have a voice, and they should have a voice in what happens at the school level and the district level. And I think as a district, we've tried very hard to build positions that are still, or Unit A positions, that provide people an opportunity to get outside the classroom. In some cases, they have a foot in the classroom and they've got a foot outside the classroom, like Paul Bavuso, who teaches a class but also is doing coaching and coordination work. I do really believe that is continues to be an important it needs to be an important focus for a district, especially if you want to retain some of people at the prime of their careers, and if you want to keep people, talented people in the profession. I think it provides an alternative for them, other than saying my only choice is to become an administrator. And not everybody wants to be an administrator. They want to maintain the connection to the classroom. And so this is an opportunity to, Leslie's working with us, no cost for teachers. We're paying them, the district is paying a small stipend for them as part of our continued partnership with Leslie University, and their faculty are going to be leading a course on Monday, June 30th of June, as well as Wednesday, July 1st at the Galvin Middle School. We'll be offering PDPs for teachers, and they are planning on launching a teacher leadership strand, and they're interested in working with Wakefield to help develop the strand. And this mini seminar will allow them to not only teach some important content to our folks, around the facets of teacher leadership, communication skills for leadership roles, teacher leaders as advocates, as some of the themes, but also gives them a way of getting some feedback on developing their own coursework at Leslie. So we're really excited about this partnership, and we're hopeful that we'll have a cadre, even if it's 5 teachers. It's a cadre of teacher leaders that we can continue to develop within the district. The other bit of good news around Leslie is I had a really good meeting. Mike was with me with the dean, Jack Gillette, who was here earlier. We met. Was that this week, Mike? I can't even. Last week. Okay. Things we talked about our partnership and the funding that we'll continue to receive from Leslie, and they're running a series of courses. But one of the exciting news that Jack shared is that they have now agreed to offer the Wakefield rate for any Leslie course that they offer. Before it was just for the Wakefield only courses. They've agreed now, in their backroom finance folks, that they can run the course. They can still run their courses and offer to any Wakefield teacher the Wakefield rate. And in effect, we're double dipping, because we're getting the Wakefield rate, plus we're also seeing the profit share, or the revenue share, the 10% share, and our teachers will count in that number as well. So it is exciting that they've now offered that to our staff at a much reduced rate for what the normal Leslie rate is. And so we really hope to continue to grow that partnership. That is all I have. I know there is Mike wanted to just share some information regarding the redefining low income, the new metric that the state wants to use for free and reduced lunch.
So can we just pause for a
Sure.
second, because you just had a lot to
I had
say.
a lot
So
to
does
say.
anyone have any questions
Yes.
about anything Dr. Zweig talked about?
Yes, I do, Steve. So when you, well, first of all, I want to say I'm just so encouraged to hear how the relationship with Leslie is bearing fruit, and to know that our teachers are going to have so many more opportunities to develop their craft, and the whole philosophy behind teacher leadership is I think so important, and it's so important for the long-term health of the district. You used the term a strand, and I just wanted to understand what that meant, because one of the things I'm trying to understand is this the beginning of a long, go from year to year, where our hope is that we build that cohort and grow that cohort, and then have a sort of a pipeline of teachers that are developing through their careers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dr. Smith and I have talked a lot about this. I mean, I think any strong system, if you want to retain your strongest teachers, has to build different strand pathways for people who want to remain in the field, but want to have more of an influence in what happens in the school. And I have to be clear that it's not only. I mean, I don't think you can only do that by being a coach. Right. That's an option. But I also think we have more work to do to make teachers feel like they have a voice as well in the on instructional leadership teams in their school, making curriculum decisions. As a district, we're not where we need to be at all. But I think opportunities like this continues to give skill set. We have training to do of our administrators as well, for them to continue to recognize the importance of that, because we will lose talented teachers to other districts who have established. People want to know that they're part of something bigger, and they want to know that they have a voice in what happens at the school level, the district level, and I think any district worth their salt has created opportunities like this. And Leslie and universities are starting to recognize that actually there's a lot of interest in this whole body of work and around teacher leadership, rather than just preparing administrators. So that's been a little bit of shift in my thinking too. I don't, especially since we only have seven principals in Wakefield, and we have a few assistant principals. But the opportunities for teachers to lead should be for, dozens and dozens of teachers.
Yeah, totally agree. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Thanks.
We'll start with the easy one and get the gift out of the way.
Yep.
Sure. I'd like to ask that the school committee accept a gift from Harmonix Music Systems in Cambridge of 10 desktop computers that they are no longer in need of and are willing to donate to the Wakefield Public Schools. Value of approximately $1,500.
Move that the school committee accepts with gratitude a gift of 15 computers without monitors to be used as needed to replace older models throughout the district from Harmonix Music Systems of Cambridge, valued at $1,500.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Questions, comments? Mr.
Did
Callen?
Mr. Weiner weighed in on these?
This is a connection that Mr. Weiner has developed. I believe he had it with his previous employer and has brought that relationship to Wakefield Public Schools. So he is fully weighed in on this.
All I need to hear.
Anyone
Warren?
else? All those in favor? Voted unanimously.
All right. The other thing that's brought to our attention last week is that the Department of Education has announced that they're going to be changing the way they do free and reduced lunch in certain communities. It's a community program that for highly populated, low-income or disadvantaged families and communities, they'll no longer need to go through the free and reduced lunch application policy. They can directly ask the state for the entire district. All students, regardless of their income level, would be qualified. Wakefield's certainly not in that situation. Or that program, we will not fall into that category. However, what it does do is that the Department of Education relies on free and reduced lunch applications and data to set Chapter 70, to work in the Chapter 70 formula for grants, for a multiple of other things. And Wakefield also uses the free and reduced application for our free and reduced and reduced waivers for our athletics and performing arts and before and after school programming and whatnot. So what the state's gone to, and this actually has been in the works for a couple of years. Donna Cushman and I got trained and certified on this a couple of years ago. Any district that wants can upload to a database the list of our students, and it matches up with the state's list of children who might, or families that might be on SNAP benefits, transitional families, with dependent children, DCF, Mass Health. So the state has got a database of all the students who really fall into those categories. We match up our list of students, and maybe the family didn't even fill out a free and reduced application, but the family still qualifies for free and reduced lunch, and we just notify them that they have just been pre-qualified for free and reduced lunch. They don't need to fill out an application. And we also accept that as part of our waiver process for our fees and whatnot. The problem is that without doing the free and reduced app, know what the number of families are in your community that fall into that situation. So the DESE wanted to put out this notice, and they did. I just wanted to bring it to your attention that they are looking at certainly looking at the programs it does affect, and they will have workarounds for each of them, including the grants in Chapter 70. And I believe we're still going to, as Wakefield, because we don't fall into that CEP program, we will continue to do a free and reduced lunch application, and we will continue to use that as well as what we call direct certification. That's when we upload and download the lists. We'll continue to use that for our waiver program. So no change in Wakefield, but it will have effects in the future on the Chapter 70, the grants, possibly MSBA on our next program, certain things like that. So just wanted to bring it to your attention.
Thank you.
We're now ready for our student spotlight, but I do want to call one of the individuals we're spotlighting first up, Akash Ottman. Ottman, if you can come up for a second. I do want to recognize this young man who is gotten to know a little bit because he's helped me with my own technology issues, and Dr. Smith. I was always struck by how mature and poised and intelligent he was. But then I received a letter that he scored a perfect score of 36 on the ACT college admission and placement exam, which is really it's equivalent of the SAT, and a lot of, actually in the Midwest, they use solely the ACT. And it is very rare. The letter actually says that it is very rare. Less than 1% of all test takers earns this score. So he's clearly the smartest person in this room. This is a significant accomplishment and positions him very strongly for college acceptance process. And I just want to give him a big round of applause because that's a huge
Thank you very much.
Maybe you could share some of your intelligence. We're going to spend a little more time with you here. He also wears another hat in that this evening I'm pleased to find Wakefield High student Sarah Custodio. Did I get your name right?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Metropolis and Akash had the opportunity to present there. I think they're going to talk a little bit about with the Anti-Defamation League. They selected Wakefield High to present for the fine work that they're doing around the diversity leaders. And we wanted them to, this is their second presentation in maybe the last 2 hours, right? And so they've come from Newton, where they were just presenting, to be with us here tonight to share their work. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Let's see. This is a very different format from where we just were. I guess to begin, as many of you may be familiar with, the diversity program at Wakefield High School is a peer leader program that's put out by the ADL's education branch, and we work off the World of Difference Institute to help make our school and our community a safe environment for everyone. So we actually are 2 of the 20 diversity leaders at Wakefield High School, and we're just going to talk a little bit about our experiences as peer leaders and the effects that the diversity program has had on us and the student body.
Sure. So I'll start off with why I ended up becoming a peer leader. So I wanted to create a more accepting environment both inside and outside the classroom at Wakefield High. I wanted to walk through the hallways empowered to take action to prevent discrimination and hate in the community as well as the school. And I want to point out that I really saw the diversity leaders as soon as I walked in, freshman orientation, the first day of high school, and they were right there, leaders, strong role models, and I wanted to be one of them. So here we are.
And in addition to what Akash mentioned, I really became a peer leader because I did want to make a difference in my community and to also uphold the work of former diversity leaders who already had a large impact on the community. The second that I walked into Wakefield High School, I immediately realized how welcoming and mature that the student body was. And I think that a lot of that really can be attributed to this program that we have at our school. It's not often that you get this warm welcoming as a freshman from the oldest kids in the building like that. And going into the classrooms, I really did look up to my leaders and I knew that I could trust them. And they made me feel very welcome. And joining the program, I really hope that I would have the same impact on an individual or many students.
All right. So obviously we have goals as peer leaders, as diversity, and we hope to achieve them. So some of the goals that we do have is to increase student awareness of prejudice and discrimination, to empower students to speak out against stereotypes and hurtful behaviors such as bullying, and then support those who have been targeted. And we try to achieve these goals by leading activities and discussions in freshman and sophomore history classes, approximately monthly throughout the year, such as certain activities like Voices of Bullying and Rumor Clinic. So
I'm going to talk a little bit about Voices of Bullying, and this is kind of like a summary that the World of Difference Institute puts out for us. But this exercise provides an opportunity for participants to hear quotations from people who have been targets of prejudice. This enables students to experience the cumulative impact of these attitudes and behaviors on those who are targets. This awareness builds empathy and motivation to stand to ally when incidents of prejudice occur. This is really one of my favorite activities that we do in the program. It's really powerful on the students, and I think the greatest thing that we do about it at Wakefield High School is instead of using the responses that the World of Difference Institute puts out that are written by who knows, we actually take responses from students at Wakefield High School who have been targets of this. And actually, I think we both had statements that were put in there, and they read them out loud, and it's very silent, and people just get a chance to take it in and realize that this stuff really does happen at our school, and it really does empower them to speak out against it, and it makes them more aware of the issues that are happening at our school.
definitely. And another activity that we do is called Rumor Clinic. This activity helps students understand the danger of unverified information in people. Participants can also see how a person's background or biases can change their interpretation of a situation. After the activity, the goal is for students to, first of all, avoid involvement in such incidents, and then secondly, to understand the real impact of spreading rumors. And I like this activity because it just shows a clear indication of how powerful a rumor really can be in a school community.
Yeah, and then after these activities and we go through the process, we'll ask questions, and then students will provide feedback and answers. And then we'll lead a class-wide discussion, and that's really where we get everything kind of put together and sum everything up, and we get our message across. And then the last thing we wanted to address this evening is the effect that the peer training program has had on us and the students. Akash, you want
Sure.
to take it away?
So, I've learned so much, and I could talk about this for hours, but I think most importantly, as I mentioned before, I walked in wanting to make the school a more accepting community, and I'm coming out now becoming a more accepting and compassionate person myself. And that was powerful to me, and I sure hope I had an impact on the school community, but it's big for me because it affects every aspect of my life to be able to look at issues in other people's shoes and really just understand what's going on.
And then, in addition to everything that Akash mentioned, through this program, it's increased a lot of my awareness on the issues that happen in our school. As like a proud student of Wakefield High School, you always want to believe that this stuff doesn't happen in our school, when in reality it does, and you do. To the classrooms, it's just kind of shadowed. But it really did increase my awareness and my empathy towards the students, and has really excelled me in the direction to make positive change in the school and as well as the community. So, overall, it's been a very, very powerful program that I'm very lucky to be a part of, and it does seem to have a really great effect on the students who partake in it as well.
That's great, thank you.
Can you just share who you were presenting to earlier this evening?
Sure. So we were presenting to the ADL board meeting in Newton earlier today.
Does anyone else have questions or comments? Mr. Callahan?
2 nights in a row I get to meet with Akash. It's just, where do you see this program going, like, next year? I mean, what would you like to change? What do you think?
I think there are a lot of benefits to this program, and I see a lot of the impact at the high school. One thing that could expand it not only to the school but to the district and to the community is instituting a program like this in the middle school. And I really think that that would have a big impact on how people walk into the high school and think about how high school is, just because they're already feeling like it's a more accepting environment that early on.
Great.
Thank you. Greg?
So I just wanted to thank you both, again, and you may know this, but we had a meeting focused on the METCO program last month, and we had some testimony from a student who had come to the United States from Eritrea, East African country, excuse me, that couldn't be more different than the United States and Wakefield, and she talked about her accepted at Wakefield High School and what that meant to her, and in terms of her education, her ability to integrate into the school. And so obviously her experiences were helped by the work that you guys have done in the school. And so just want to commend you and thank you for sharing all this with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Mr. Markham?
Could you speak a little bit about how large the peer leader and diversity leader group is? And how does, is there a recruitment effort? Are people sort of constantly able to become involved? Or how does your group stay as strong and informed, and even the level of training that you must go through to aspire to the leadership?
Okay, so every year there are about 20 of us under the leadership of the Miss Burke, and it is a somewhat extensive process to become a diversity leader. Every year it is half the students are seniors and half the students are juniors. Assuming that everything pans out well, the juniors are the senior diversity leaders the following year. But the application process really does start as a sophomore, and it starts with a recommendation from either a teacher or a diversity leader. Each faculty member and diversity leader gets to nominate 2 people, and there's a lot of repeats. So we had about, I want to say 75 kids who were nominated, and some people are nominated as juniors who don't get that opportunity as a sophomore to be entered into the program. And from there, they fill out an application, at which point it's cut down significantly, and about, I want to say kids will get interviews, and then from that 10 people will become diversity leaders. And then from there, we have 3 training sessions that the juniors do in the fall to get them prepared to go into the classrooms and to go into the school and make these changes, as well as the seniors. They will have one kind of refresher training that they do in the fall as well with the juniors.
I had a distinct feeling that there was a significant part of the back part of the story that you were probably humbly leaving off, because that is very impressive. The depth of which you go through to not only to apply, but to go through the application process and the interview process and the training piece. That really speaks to the depth of your characters and what you want to bring to this, and how important that your leadership in this, something that you really own about Wakefield High School, and that is tremendously impressive. So please keep up the great work. Recruit those sophomores for next year's juniors, and thank you for everything that you're doing, and congratulations on your presentation earlier tonight. That must have been a big deal to speak to the board in Newton.
Yeah.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Pierce?
Just briefly, I want to echo some of the commendations. I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about being good students, and obviously, clearly you both are. I know when I took the SAT in high school, I didn't even know that it went as high as 36. So, I mean, good for you, and there's a lot to be said for being a good student, but there's even more to be said for being a good person. And I think what you're bringing to the community it means a lot when your mother and father tells you to, shape up and be a good person, but when you hear it from your peers and, in the halls, it means so much more. So congratulations and keep it up. We're proud to have you in Wakefield.
Thank you.
Dr. Zweig?
Yeah, just two things. One, I do want to, you talked about Ms. Burke. I did want to highlight Marlisa Burke, who does an outstanding job leading the diversity leaders. I've had the privilege of speak to you guys a few times, and it really wouldn't happen without the leadership of a really strong teacher. So I want to acknowledge Ms. Burke, who unfortunately cannot be with us, but she's her fingerprints and handprints are all over this work. And then to Akash's point, we have invested in the middle school already. We're sending a few teachers to ADL training this summer, and we're hoping to launch an effort that's similar, or a program or experience that's similar to the high school. And I think it's an excellent suggestion, and we're going to look to the high school model to help inform what it looks like at the middle school. So thank you both for coming tonight. I know.
Yeah.
Thank you guys both.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Good
Thank you
work.
for having us.
That concludes my comments.
Great. Okay, so now we'll move on to the chairman's comments. We have a few items we need to take care of tonight, and we will start with the acceptance of Dr. Zweig's letter of resignation. And we have a motion for that.
Move that the school committee accepts Dr. Schreick's letter of resignation effective Friday, July 3rd, 2015.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor? Oh, do you have a question, or are you?
I do.
Okay.
Well, it's not so much of a question as
comment.
it's a point of discussion that I would like to add, although I'm not intending to amend the motion, but just for certain, to accept this with regret. Certainly, the departure of Dr. Schreck is probably sudden, certainly unexpected, but I certainly wish him nothing but the best and thank him for the 2 years of service that he was able to give to Wakefield students and families and taxpayers, and certainly we're accepting this with regret.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Voted unanimously. Okay, so our next action item is a discussion on the appointment of a next superintendent. So I figured I would start this discussion with what I see as our options. And the first one I thought was we could post the position, go through a full search process to name a new superintendent. We could appoint an interim superintendent from within or from outside, or an internal candidate that we have confidence in to be our next superintendent. So to start, does anyone else have any options they want to put on the table? No? Okay. Any questions or comments on any of these things, or suggestions? Mr. Markham?
I think you have articulated what the options are. I'm sure there are probably others if we wanted to get creative and come up with a whole set of ins and outs of, we could probably come up with a dozen, options. I think, frankly, of the options that you have listed and the opportunity before us is fairly clear. I think the last of the options that you listed there, Madam Chair, is something that I would like to entertain and like to encourage the committee to do the same. We have sitting in the superintendent's office, quite able, quite capable, quite intelligent, quite professional, and quite well-prepared assistant superintendent, who I think would be most appropriate and deserving and well-placed to serve as our next superintendent of schools. And I'd like to encourage the committee to have this a conversation.
Great. Any further comments? Mr. Kenny?
I couldn't agree with Mr. Markham's comments anymore. I think we were very lucky. I said it a little over 2 years ago. I think a lot of you folks said it. I wasn't on the committee at the time, but we had a really good problem to have, which is we had two really qualified candidates for superintendent. And we were fortunate enough to choose one and then to bring the other one in as assistant superintendent. I think to echo also Mr. Markham's comments, it is, you know, I don't want to use the word disappointing because that implies some kind of dissatisfaction. I think I can speak for myself, and I think probably the committee as well, quite satisfied with the work that Dr. Zreich's been able to do in only 2 years here. But we are, for all intents and purposes, disappointed to lose him. He's done a great job, but I could not express more confidence, or I guess I should say I couldn't express the level of confidence I have in our current assistant superintendent to take the helm and to keep the train going in the right direction. We are headed in the right direction. I think there have been a lot of really good changes, a lot of tough decisions, and a lot of big strides that weren't easy to make. And I think there is but we could go out and do a search, spend thousands of dollars on a consultant and go through the. I don't see the benefits of that when we have such a capable candidate internally who was vetted through that same process 2 years ago. So I certainly would support Mr. Markham's suggestions, and I couldn't agree anymore.
Mrs. Danahy?
Well, I'd like to thank Dr. Zreich for his leadership over the last 2 years. I think he's laid a foundation and a vision, but he's done that collaboratively. He's worked very closely with our assistant superintendent, Dr. Smith. I think that Dr. Smith, not only is she able to keep the train going and keep that momentum going, she will continue to spring us forward. I think that we know her. We know that she is, incredibly capable, incredibly student-centered, intelligent. I think that we are in excellent shape. I am very sad to see Superintendent Zreich go. I think that it's a great team with Superintendent Zreich and Dr. Smith, but I think that we are probably in the best shape that we could be in. And this is actually one of the easiest decisions for me that I've made on this committee. I think that there's really only one option, and that option would be to have Dr. Smith as our superintendent. She'll be able to continue to move us forward. She's been an integral part of the progress that we've made, so she can just seamlessly implement it. So for me, it's a very easy decision.
Mr. Tiara?
Just want to echo the sentiments of this conversation, and I'll thank Dr. Zreich as well for all the district. A lot of the changes that we're talking about, it's important to mention that Dr. Smith was in the number 2 seat behind all of that. And in terms of implementing it going forward, there's clearly a qualified candidate that's trusted by the community, already sitting in the superintendent's office, as has been said. So just want to agree with everything that's been said.
Mr. Liakos?
So there's not a lot more to say. I concur with my colleagues. I think that often, first on Dr. Zreich, my first reaction as a member of the Wakefield School Committee and a taxpayer in Wakefield was disappointment to lose Dr. Zreich, knowing that he's not going to be the head of our school system anymore. On the other hand, as a resident of the Commonwealth, I know that we want our best educators in the districts that need the help the most, and Holyoke is a district in great need of leadership and resources and help, and I know that Dr. Zreich is the right choice for that district, and so I admire the choice and I admire his willingness to take it on. But at the same time, we are, as Ann said, in a really, really good position. We have an extraordinary educator as our assistant superintendent, who not only was in a position to become our superintendent 2 years ago when she was a finalist for the position, but now has grown for 2 years in concert with Dr. Schreik, under his leadership and with his guidance, with a really, really strong relationship among two very talented educators. She's 2 years stronger, better, and more qualified for the position. And so often, stability and continuity have to come that the system has. If you assert that stability and continuity are important, you often have to give up something else in exchange for that. We are in the position of being able to have stability and continuity without giving anything up by appointing Dr. Smith to the position of superintendent, if we so choose.
Mr. Callahan?
Dr. Smith has clearly demonstrated her abilities and her loyalty to the town of Wakefield for many, many years. And the momentum we have going on under Dr. Reich's superintendency, I think can only be continued. I mean, Dr. Smith is the one person who has the most amount of intimate knowledge of every piece of the decision that's gone this place, and the thought process that went into them, and the ability to carry them out. We've made a big commitment with our next year's budget, and I think that Dr. Smith is the only one other than Dr. Zreich that can properly implement all the plans that are in place. I don't know if this is premature, but I would like to make a motion that the committee enter into a negotiations with Dr. Smith for a direct appointment without any need for a search or other processes. And pending the successful negotiations, we should appoint her as superintendent.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I have some discussion. Just to echo what everybody else has already said, it's disappointing that you're leaving. We're sad to lose you. But I think timing isn't really a problem, because I think we're set up in a position of success. We have someone sitting in your office who's partnered with you to develop all the plans that we have in place for the next several years, and I really don't think we would find anyone better to execute these plans and to keep the district moving forward. We have someone who is extremely dedicated to our community, and I agree. I don't think we need to look anywhere else. Any further discussion?
Like Dorothy, doesn't it?
Any further discussion? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Unanimous decision?
Passes unanimously. So Dr. Smith happens to be sitting in the room tonight for the presentation she made on the curriculum, and I know you're not prepared to make any comments, but if you would like to, you can. If you want to wait until another time.
I will. I am not prepared to make any comments right now, and right at the moment, I'm very overwhelmed and humbled by all of your words, and I want to say thank you very much. I will probably speak at the next time around,
Yes.
maybe
Yeah.
perhaps a little more well-prepared and eloquently,
Sure.
and actually, I'd like to speak with Dr. Zreich together, maybe at our next meeting. But I also want to just start by saying what an unbelievable journey it has been to work with someone of the caliber of Dr. Zreich. The indelible mark that he's made in the Wakefield Public Schools in just 2 short years is really unbelievable. It's phenomenal, and I'm so grateful to have been a part of it. And I agree with Greg. I really have grown in these 2 years, and learned an awful lot side by side with Dr. Zreich. I think everyone here knows how deeply, deeply committed I am to the Wakefield Public Schools. Sometimes I just say I bleed Wakefield red, and I do, and I'm proud of that. I'm very, very proud of spending the entirety of my career here and finishing the entirety of my career here. It's very important to me, and I am in relentless pursuit of excellence, as Dr. Reich is, and will continue that work. And I'll be very proud to do that on behalf of the children and families and teachers of the Wakefield Public Schools. So thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Hear, hear.
And I apologize for putting you on the spot like
That's
that.
okay. I'll be prepared next time around.
You'll have to get used to it, though. Perfectly
That's
fine.
okay. Thank you.
Yes,
Is it okay if I say something?
it is okay if you say something.
You know, this is, I knew this was a good school committee, but they're even smart. You know, this was a smart decision on the part of the school committee. I've gotten a chance to meet superintendents in Massachusetts in the last 2 years. There is no one better than Dr. Smith anywhere in the state. It just so happens that I walked into a gold mine when I arrived. I had no idea what the other finalist was going to be like, and she so happened to be here. But she is gold, and she's a gem. She's a star. I would take her. I know you don't want to hear this, but I would take her with me.
Stop it. Then we'll get really mad.
I know.
You're pushing your luck.
But I will tell you, I've worked in a lot of districts, in a lot of places. I have never worked with someone as talented, passionate, and committed as Dr. Smith. She can say she's grown with me. I've grown as a leader working with her. I consider her not only a professional colleague, but a very dear friend. And as much of this work and say I put in place the foundation, whoever said that her fingerprints are all over this work. She's been a part of this, the values we share around this work, and no one is more respected, and deservingly so in this community, than Kim Smith. And I'm excited to see where Wakefield will go. Because not only can she continue, she can make the work better, given her relationships, her intelligence as a leader. And I could not be. This is for me difficult to leave this community, but and I won't go into all of that tonight. But I leave with assurances that this district will continue to get better under a star superintendent. So I commend the committee. Not that it's my vote, but I would have echoed the same vote. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Now to the business report. That was
Tough
easy.
act to follow. Congratulations, Dr. Smith. There's a lot of shifting going on this month, and I'll explain what's going on in the budget reports, but it's obviously looks in a much better position, and there's reasons for that. The first thing, the salary lines are about $120,000 stronger than they were last month. Last month, they were already $107,000 to the positive. Now they're $227,000. Some of the things we did in order to overcome the deficits that we had was we early on identified revolving accounts and grant accounts that we could tap into to offset salaries, ultimately freeing up money for some of the other deficits that we had. We did make our transfers that were already pre-approved through Title I grant, the pre-K revolving account, and the Wakefield Academy account that was voted last year as part of the budget. We waited till the end of the year to do a one-time transfer on all of those. So those have all happened. That's where the $120,000 or the bulk of the $120,000 came from there. It's student public pupil transportation on line 8 of the reports. You'll notice that has come down by about $55,000, the deficit, and $75,000 of that is from the Special Education Stabilization Fund transfer that came through as a result of the town meeting vote. So we got $150,000, and Kevin Gill and I discussed it. We put $75,000 or 50% towards transportation, and the other 50% towards special education tuitions. So it is truly all at sped levels. But we broke it up just to kind of show deficits. Those were both extraordinary expenses for us. We had an extremely large amount of out-of-district tuitions, and we had an extremely, which follows, makes sense, we had the transportation that goes with those out-of-district tuitions. So, and then on line 13, you'll notice that the SPED tuitions have come down by exactly $75,000, and that's a result of the transfer. If I bounce back up to line 8, it actually says 108 as a transfer. 75,000 is from the Special Education Stabilization Fund, and the other 58.8 is from the offset from the student fees for regular ed transportation. So that was on there last month. If there were questions. The only other thing I'll point out on this first page is on line 20. I think we've pretty much turned the heat off finally for the year. It did take until May to get there. We're going to come in slightly shy of $100,000 over budget on our heating fuel line this year. The last bills were processed this week, so they don't necessarily reflect in this bill, but that's where we're gonna end up this year, just shy of $100,000 over budget in heating fuel costs. Any questions on page one?
Yeah. Do you have any, I know the budget subcommittee hasn't had an opportunity to meet, but do we have any more open POs that will be closed that get rid of this $28,000?
Well, there's, yeah,
deficit?
I'm sorry, yeah, I probably should have gone into the bottom line. $28,000 deficit still. We still have the special education extraordinary relief money that we have not fully expended. So that will come into play to cover that. But there's still a lot of expenses that aren't covered in this that need to be taken care of. We have quite a few financial obligations to our employees for end of year obligations for salaries. That
They're not encumbered already?
They're not encumbered, correct. There's the Unit C, I don't know if you recall, the Unit C sick balance program that we have, that has to be paid out. There are some employees who are leaving the district that we have vacation buyout for that we need to address. I've got a full list that I am prepared to share with the budget subcommittee, but we just haven't met yet, and I have it all keyed out. There is, we are still working on the number, but I can tell you that $28,000 will be erased, and there will be some money left over at the end of the year. So the exact amount I'll share with the budget subcommittee. And I think we'll do a line transfer later in this month or early in August for the year roundup.
Don't we have to do it by the end of June?
Their books, it gives us till July 14th, I believe, somewhere in mid-July to get our final purchases committed to and invoiced and whatnot. So while I will probably know most, the last payroll hits on June 30th this year. It is the last day of the year. So if we want an exact transfer, we may maybe do a preliminary one, June 26th. Is that our next meeting for school committee? 23rd for school committee. And then maybe we'll do a follow-up early in July.
And the 53rd payroll is handled by the town, or?
It was a transfer. It's a transfer into our budget, correct. So it's a transfer. I haven't reflected it in the budget reports because we've kind of kept everything separate for right now. The town's already transferred it, and I just haven't included it in our reports.
Right, okay.
So I have got to calculate it all out. We know what everybody's getting, and you know what that last payroll is going to account for. But it's fully, it's not, hasn't been, I haven't transferred it on the reports yet.
So it is neither reflected in the balances nor in the transfer?
Correct, or in the encumbrances. The 50,
Right,
we encumbered 26 payrolls, not 27. So there will be one additional payroll this year for full-year employees.
So effectively, it's still a wash if it's not it's not on either side of the ledger right now.
Correct.
It's right now, we're still looking at 28.3, but you're fully confident.
Right. We've got 175,000 for transfer from the town, but we've got 175,000 going out in salaries. It's a
Right,
wash.
So that's what I mean by the wash, right?
Okay. Move on, page 2 or 3, I don't believe we need to touch base on, seeing at the late hour that we're at. Page 4, there's really nothing spectacular. I will just point out that I did add in 3 grants at the bottom of this. That's the safety and security grant that was new this year, the kindergarten 702 transition grant that's new this year, and the SPED early childhood grant is not new this year, but I did, I guess, it wasn't on previous reports, so I did add those in. Maybe I should provide a magnifying glass. See Mr. Markham over there.
It's not, it's not the paper, it's the eyes.
That is quite, I mean, there is quite a fine report there, fine type print report. But I think it's because I added in those 3 additional grants. It just kind of try to get everything on one page, so fit to page. Any questions on the grants? That really, other than those 3 grants, there hasn't been great movement. I did put out I have communicated with all grant managers, their outstanding balances, their end dates, what they need to do. I've drawn down all available funds from the state. So we are in good position to close the year, and I am working with all grant managers to ensure that we've expended every grant dollar that's available to us on the grant side.
So Mike, that kindergarten grant that you just referred to, the $35,499?
Correct.
That's a June 30th grant, right?
It is. So we have, that's our, there's plans to bring in, is it?
So we have some of that is going to be expended through, working with Leslie for a small portion, but furniture, we're purchasing furniture for our early childhood programs, the new kindergarten classrooms, and then there's also some curriculum expenses for kindergarten that we're purchasing out of that. And then any leftover money, we're going to be purchasing Chromebooks for kindergarten classrooms. so that they can use technology in their centers. You know, that they can have at least 3 or so for their center-based learning. So we have Margot has definite plans for that 35,000.
Any other questions on the grants? All right, so quickly on the revolving, a couple of highlights. Athletics, we still have it showing a negative balance and actually grew a little bit. We did have some expenses that may not have been encumbered, but we still have a large encumbrance also in the Mr. Metropolis is still here. Spring season is still in full effect. Earlier this evening when I went up to Landrigan, it looked like it could have been in doubt. So I'm not sure if our spring seasons are still in effect or not, but hopefully they are. And we have hosted a lot of home games in the playoffs. That's kind of a good news, that we know transportation costs. The Wakefield Academy, you'll see that went from a $60,000 positive to just a slight negative. That's a combination of the transfer that we did earlier this month and timing of deposits. And as I pointed out earlier, Mr. Callahan, on the circuit breaker line, we were showing a $235,000 deficit. We now have a $15,000 positive because the stabilization money did go in, but we have another $194,000 coming. So that $194 coming, that's our fourth quarter payment for regular circuit breaker. In addition to all those expenses that I was mentioning out earlier, will bring us to a positive. It won't be $194,000 positive, but there will be some slight amount left over. And I reviewed that with Mr. Gill today, so we have confidence that the school committee will come in with a positive, if not an equal, if not a balance, if not equal, a positive balance in our budget.
I'm sorry, I got distracted. Are you still doing revolving?
Yes.
Okay. On the, it's nice to see that there is a little money left in food service now. Didn't she have some equipment needs though?
She does. We are still identifying those.
Is that gonna come to us in June as well, or?
Probably not. We're still working with the vendor. There's one device that's at the Woodville that is only 11 or 12 years old. 11 or 12 years old, I'm assuming.
Right, and no one's been able to fix it properly.
And it hasn't. Our first option is to contact the manufacturer and ask them if they will take it in over the summer and do a full overhaul on it from a rebuild standpoint, because it's a perfectly the equipment looks perfect. It just doesn't operate properly. So that would be the less expensive, a full overhaul, rebuild of the equipment. If that's not possible, then we are looking at probably spending somewhere between $25,000 and $35,000 on it. And if that's the case, I would recommend that we don't go with the same manufacturer if it's not going to hold up for 10 or 12 years. And we've had problems with it long before I arrived here in Wakefield. So it's been a problem for a long period. And if that's the case, we'll look at. There are other manufacturers, and we do have quotes from them. So there could be a possibility for a purchase of equipment.
Okay. I mean, I know we don't have to because it's revolving. It does carry forward, but.
Mm-hmm. Correct. And that balance will be much higher than the 43 is my projection right now, because we do have, we will get reimbursements for June, and in July we'll get June reimbursements from the states, and all of our vacations have all been paid out. Holidays are over. It's all strict sales now, so we're in a good place, and purchasing will certainly start tailing off now that we're winding down the last 2 weeks of the year. So it's all.
You're missing 25% of the population.
No, I think it's 5% or 10% of the entire district population, just the
Well,
seniors.
the high school.
Oh, the high school, yeah. I'm done.
Next, approval of the payroll warrants. Do you have an option?
Move the school committee approve payroll warrants numbers 45 and 47.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Voted unanimously. Consent agenda?
Move that the school committee approves the minutes of the May 26, 2015 school committee meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any questions? All those in favor? Mr. Malcolm?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. Yes, I'm sorry.
Voted unanimously. Subcommittee reports, budget?
We're going to be having a meeting, as Mr. Piffling referred to or alluded to, on Monday evening prior to the next school committee meeting, reviewing likely end-of-year transfers, or at least what we're able to know of at that time. And then support the opening of 16, which will continue into July.
Great, thank you. Policy?
We have one change on your motion sheet. We're going to ask that we take off, remove the, and hold the approval of policy number 100 on harassment and discrimination, because we got some additional legal input from town council. So we're gonna come back with just some tweaks to the draft and bring that back to the school committee at the next meeting, I believe. Right?
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I'm working with the attorney who asked me to, he wanted to do some more work on the policy, so I'm hopeful at the next meeting.
But we do have a motion that the school committee will and approve policies, revised policy number 217 on public participation at school committee meetings, and also policy number 108, parent guide to address concerns in the Wakefield schools.
1108.
I'm sorry, 1108, thank you.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Voted unanimously. Anything else from policy?
Nope.
Is that- you can stay with us for a second.
Sure.
The Labor Relations Subcommittee, we met last week, and there's a motion tonight to accept some adjustments to our non-rep salary hiring ranges.
Move that the school committee approve the recommended non-rep salary hiring ranges.
Second.
So we have, we reviewed this document there in the recommended column on the right. We had fallen out of sync with some of the current ranges we had, so we looked at like districts and surrounding districts to come up with what we have recommended here tonight. Anyone have any questions or comments?
Go ahead.
No, I just, as a member of the Labor Relations Committee, I just wanted to make the comment, if we could also, Ms. Majeski, for the minutes, one of the substantive changes that we are recommending to the committee is we go through this sort of as an annual exercise, which is, we're trying to get around, that doesn't become necessary. Or, what can provide some consistency to the superintendent, the business administrator, and principals when doing such hiring. So the recommendations before you are called hiring ranges as opposed to salary ranges, as has been, because once someone, so this would be that these are the ranges in which people would be hired between, not necessarily what they would be limited to during their life or their time in Wakefield. So I think that's an important distinction that we should put into the record. So this does not have to become the annual exercise that we go through each year when the superintendent grants someone a 2.5% increase and all of a sudden they're $120 over the range. We have to go through this as an exercise. So these are hiring ranges.
Actually, that was going to be my question,
Great.
just to clarify that, yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was mentioned, but I think it should also be included that the recommended hiring ranges are based on a comparison of like communities. Oh, it was, sorry.
Good,
Tired.
thanks.
Bears repeating.
Yeah.
What kind of binding does this, is this just kind of a guide for the administration when kind of pursuing hires, or is it have any kind of binding authority?
I believe it's recommendations, because, well,
No, we would be binding, at
Bind.
least this becomes policy of the school committee, that if the superintendent were to recommend hiring someone outside of these ranges, they would need to come to the school committee for such approval.
Okay, but they could still do it if they wanted to.
With school committee approval.
Okay.
Right, so this is being adopted into the school committee policy, which is why annually we would have to change we'd go through this rigmarole every year and effectively change policy. So that's why if we establish the hiring ranges as policy, it becomes much more of a consistent metric as opposed to the annual, the annual exercise. Is that your appreciation, Dr. Strike?
Yes, it is. Yep.
okay. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor? Voted unanimously. One other note, under labor relations, I am going to be out of the country for the next week or so, I think we should get moving on the negotiations if the rest of the committee could try and find a time and get that started. And then we already have a meeting scheduled for the 22nd too, as a follow-up. And
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sure Ms. Danahy and I can figure that out.
While you're out of the country, I assume I'm in charge, right?
Yeah. I suppose.
General Haig is,
You don't get this, though.
historical reference, eh?
And communications?
Communications, we, at our last meeting, we talked about our work with Brian McCoubrey as well as Marion Wakefield Chamber of Commerce and making connections in the business community with particularly the larger businesses that are focused on technology and science. And I'll be speaking with continuing that work. And then we also talked about Dr. Smith has been really instrumental in helping with the communication flow of how all communication should go, so that we're have it on Facebook and on the website and the consistency in our communication. So we'll continue to work on that. So
Great, thank you. Anything under other? Yes.
Okay, I just would, I'd be remiss if we didn't thank Susan Lacey tonight for tonight's reception, and Susan Majeski for putting that together, and the students that cooked and prepared tonight's reception. I think we need to make sure we acknowledge. I know I enjoyed my dinner tonight, so thank you to Susan, both Susan Majeski and Susan Lacey.
Future dates and agenda items, our next meeting will be the 23rd, and then we will just have the one meeting in July on the 14th. School committee comments will go around the table. Mr. Callahan?
I think tonight was a momentous night, and I look forward to our future.
Mr. Markham?
Congratulations to Dr. Smith. Again, regret to Dr. Reich at the same time. And congratulations to the class of 2015 and their families. I was unable to join you all on Saturday morning, but I've heard nothing but outstanding comments from what a wonderful event it always is, and it certainly was. I'd just like to remind the community, those that may be up for breakfast tomorrow, the Wakefield Food Pantry is having a partner breakfast at the Civic Center from 8, and anyone would like to come and share good thoughts and good words and help the food pantry raise some much-needed funds, please do so.
Mrs. Danahy?
I just want to congratulate class of 2015. It was so much fun on Saturday. It was excellent as always, and just a really uplifting time. Students were unbelievably great as always. So that was a lot of fun. And also, congratulations to Dr. Smith. I think that our future is very bright, and I think that we're all, with our community involvement and with the community involvement, with the support of the school committee, and with Dr. Smith leading us, we'll do just fine in the future, and we're going to be able to continue the momentum that Dr. Reich initiated, and we'll be able to implement it. So, all working together.
Mr. Kenny?
I would say to Mrs. Majeski, who was apparently working till her last minute here, because she worked to actually put together for years now you've put together that retirees reception, right? And this year she did it for herself. So congratulations, and we'll certainly miss you. Congratulations to Dr. Smith. Good one more meeting.
Yeah.
I know. I can say it next time too. And certainly congratulations to Dr. Smith. Just briefly, I can share my perspective because, now as a member of the committee, but also I was a student while she was a high school principal. And, we talked about her being a leader, and she was absolutely that trustworthy adult, that trustworthy leader to all of the students in Wakefield High School. And even though she was the authority figure, I never once heard a negative word about her in the hallways of Wakefield Memorial High School. So, and probably never anywhere, frankly. So I agree, our future is bright. And also, I was really honored to present my little brother with his diploma, class of 2015, on Saturday, and that was really a huge honor. So congratulations to everybody. Thanks.
Mr. Tiaro?
I'll be very brief. Congratulations to Dr. Smith. Congratulations to the class of 2015. And I want to single out one particular retiree that we're losing. Miss Judy McGuan, an 8th grade teacher at the Galvin, was my favorite teacher that I have ever had my entire life. She excited me about government, about local politics. She's probably part of the reason I'm sitting in this seat. So thank you, Miss McGuan. You will be missed.
And I just, Mr. Liaco, sorry. I'd also just like to congratulate Dr. Smith. I'm really excited. I'm sure you're really excited. And that is it. Any comments over there? Motion to adjourn?
Move adjourns its meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Can we use my gavel?